सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वंदे गुरु परंपरां श्रुतिस्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शंकरं लोकशंकरम्. So in verse number 20 we have referred to the three types of the hetu: Anvaya Vyatireki, Kevala Anvayi and Kevala Vyatireki. So whatever we have explained in the morning, that has been given in the commentary. Anvaya Vyaptimad Lingam Vyatireki cha Kevalam Yata Drishtam Tata Tena Lingena Anumitir Bhavet. So according to the Nyaya school, there are three types of Sadhetus: Anvaya Vyatireki, Kevala Anvayi, which admits of only positive instance, positive correlation, and the third one is Kevala Vyatireki, which admits of only Vyatireka type of Vyapti. And now Prasangat, in the context, he also wants to say Hetva Basam Vaktum Uktam Hetu Lakshanam Anuvadati. So Hetva Basam, in order to, whenever we speak of, see, Rama is the hero of Ramayana, isn't it? For any kavya, there will also be an anti-hero, that is Ravana, isn't it? So likewise, whenever we speak of a Sadhetu, there will always be some Asadhetus which are called, that is, which will counteract. Sadhetus means those hetus which will give rise to valid inferential cognition. And in contrast with the Sadhetus, we have what is known as Asadhetus, which are called, or which are associated with some defects, and which are called Hetva Bhasa. The term Hetva Bhasa means those hetus which bear the semblance of the hetu, which in reality which cannot give rise to valid inferential cognition. So they are called Hetva Bhasas, or fallacies of the hetu, or defective. So we have just now referred to the three types of Sadhetu: Anvaya Vyatireki, Kevala Anvayi and Kevala Vyatireki. Now in sharp contrast with these three types of Sadhetus, you have what is known as Hetva Bhasa. Now what does this Hetva Bhasa do? Now what is the role of a Sadhetu? A Sadhetu, for example, Vannivyapya Dhumavan Ayam Parvata, when we say that Sadhetu gives rise to a valid Paramarsha, which in turn gives rise to a valid inferential cognition, Parvato Vanniman. In contrast to this Sadhetu, what are these Hetva Bhasas? Now, this Sadhetus, what do? They give rise to valid Vyapti, valid knowledge of Vyapti, which in turn gives rise to Paramarsha, which in turn gives rise to Anumiti. On the other hand, this Asadhetus, why do you call them as Asadhetus or Hetva Bhasas? They cannot give rise to Vyapti Jnana or knowledge of invariable relation. So, in other words, in certain combination, for example, A is the Paksha, B is the Sadhya and C is the Hetu. Now the C, in order to be called as a Sadhetu, this is Paksha, Sadhya and Hetu. Now in order to be called as a Sadhetu, what is the first step we have stated? The Hetu should be present in P. The Hetu should exist in P, Paksha Dharmata Jnana. And then the Hetu should coexist with the Sadhya, that is Vyapti Jnana. Then you have the Paramarsha, all this process goes on. So the very first step is that the Hetu should coexist or should be present in the Paksha. Now there are certain combinations of, in certain combinations, there are certain Hetus which will not satisfy any one of these criteria. Now to understand what a Sadhetu is, there are at least 5 criteria. Presence in the paksha. The hetu should be present in the paksha. Paksha sattvam. The second one is presence in the sapaksha. It should also be present in the sapaksha. And then non-presence in the vipaksha. It should not be present, the hetu should not be present in the vipaksha. Vipaksha is the Vyatireka Drishtanta. And then the fourth and the fifth refer to 2 kinds of hetu, but that is, it should not be associated with the defect called bada, and it should not be associated with the defect called sat pratipaksha. Let us for the present forget about these 2. These 3 are the important criterion in order to be called as a sad hetu, that the hetu should be present in the paksha, it should be present in the sapaksha, it should not be present in the vipaksha. Now when you look into the hetu dhuma, all these criteria are fulfilled, so it is a sad hetu. Asat pratipaksha, and it should not be, that is bada. The last one is asat pratipaksha. It should not, the hetu should not be associated with the defect called sat pratipaksha. Sat pratipaksha is a kind of hetuabhasa and bada is a kind of hetuabhasa. So abhaditatva and asat pratipakshitatva, it should not be associated with these 2 defects. So now I don't go into this part. The first 3, if these 3 are present, then normally it has to be a sad hetu. Now when viewed in the light of this criteria, the 3 hetus which we have referred to earlier, Anvaya Vyatireki, Kevala Anvayi and Kevala Vyatireki, they fulfill all these conditions, so they are called sad hetus. But there are certain types of hetus which in certain combinations, a particular paksha is in a particular paksha, a particular sadhya is proved on the basis of a hetu. Now what would happen is, the hetu may be present in the paksha, but it may not be present in the sapaksha, or it may not give rise to valid vyapti jnana or invariable relation. So what happens is, the Nayayikas have generally formulated a definition of hetuabhasa, those hetus which do not give rise to valid knowledge of the invariable relation. That is, they counteract the rise of vyapti jnana. Normally, a sad hetu is expected to give rise to valid knowledge of the invariable relation. That is, it should give rise to vyapti jnana, so that the process proceeds and goes on to give rise to inferential cognition. But there are certain hetus which are called hetuabhasas or asad hetus, which cannot give rise to vyapti jnana. The very root of anumiti, the rise of anumiti, depends on vyapti jnana. So if vyapti jnana is counteracted, if the vyapti jnana is, if the hetu if you are not able to provide the vyapti jnana, then what happens is, the hetu, the defective hetu, it counteracts the rise of vyapti jnana, means then the inferential process cannot proceed further, and as a result you cannot have inferential cognition. So what happens, such hetus, they have been classified by the Nayayikas, broadly classified as 5 in number. I don't propose to go into the details because the text says hetostu lakshanam vyaptihi yaha, the 21 page 12 verse 21, hetostu lakshanam vyaptihi means, what is the definition of a hetu? A hetu is one which is possessed of the vyapti with the sadhya. A sad hetu, a correct hetu or a valid hetu is one which is possessed of the vyapti with the sadhya. Tadvan means hetostu tadvan vyaptiman avabhasate, that which is possessed of the vyapti with the sadhya. Hetu, a sad hetu is one which is possessed of a vyapti with the sadhya. Saha sad hetuhu ityanvayaha. Such a hetu is called sad hetu or a correct reasoning. And then the next line he says, hetuhu san vyapti rahitaha. It appears to be a hetu. See, when I say parvato vanniman prameyatvat, I give an inferential statement. Mountain is fiery. Now, the usual hetu that is given is dhumat. That is a sad hetu. But what happens? Parvato vanniman. Suppose I say mountain is fiery. Parvataha vanniman. And the hetu you provide is prameyatvat. Now, this is a very important point you should note. Morning we were explaining this prameyatva as a kevalanvayi hetu, in which combination pot is nameable because it is knowable. So there itself I made a mention that there is no hard and fast rule that a particular hetu is always a sad hetu or it is a defective hetu. It's not the case, because in certain combinations this becomes inefficacious in giving rise to the valid inferential cognition. Then what is the actual defect there? One has to find out, and then we have to conclude that it is a defective reasoning. We cannot arrive at the inferential cognition. Now this parvato vanniman prameyatvat, I have made a statement, but this statement means this prameyatva, although it appears as a hetu, because with panchami vibhakti, if you provide a statement, appa kuttihi I am sadhuhu, there is a person called appa kutti, he is a sadhu. Sadhu means he is a very quiet and polite person. Appa kutti I am sadhu. Somebody makes a statement like this. Why sadhutvat? Because he is a sadhu. So, like what? Pune kuttivat. Somebody makes it. Somebody wants to pronounce a vyapti. Anumana means like that. No, whatever comes to your mind, you cannot make. It must satisfy, fulfill the conditions of a vyapti. So, just because you give something in panchami vibhakti, no, it cannot go as a reason or a ground of inference. So, prameyatvat, when you have provided prameyatvat as a hetu, why madam, it appears to be a hetu. Morning you said gataha abhideha prameyatvat, why cannot it serve as a hetu here means? But here in this combination, it has to fulfill the condition. You must have hetu sadhyoha vyapti, you must be able to provide. So all these conditions we have fixed. We have framed such conditions in order to arrive at the inferential cognition. So it has to go through a process, a rigorous process, and then only we can conclude that it is a sadhetu. So in this combination at least, this prameyatva, in other words, parvataha vanniman, this is an inferential cognition. Inference is pakshaha sadhyavan. But dhuma hetuka vanyanumitihi jayate parvate. But prameyatva hetuka vanyanumitihi na jayate. That is, with prameyatva as the hetu, you cannot prove fire in the mountain. Because prameyatva is inefficacious in proving, although it appears, that is what he says, hetva bhasa, the statement you see, hetva bhasa naha, hetuhu san, it appears to be a hetu, hetuhu san, vyapti rahitaha, but it is not possessed of vyapti. You see here, what could be the vyapti you will provide? Yatra yatra prameyatvam, yatra prameyatvam, tatra vannihi you should say. And then yatra prameyatvam vannihi means this vanni is present wherever there is prameyatva, there is vanni. It is not the case. Yatra yatra prameyatvam tatra vannihi you cannot say. Yatra yatra prameyatvam, it is not the case that vanni alone is present. Any other object may be present. Prameyatva wherever, so all the objects are prameya. So this vyapti, yatra yatra prameyatvam tatra vannihi, you cannot give any sapaksha, or in other words, if you have to be very specific in stating, that is vanyabhava. Vanyabhava adhikarana is Mahahrada, deep lake. There also prameyatva exists. In other words, this prameyatva not only coexists with fire, it coexists with the absence of fire also, which means prameyatva exists in all the places where the sadhya is present, sadhya abhava is present. So it cannot give rise to vyapti jnana, a hetu which counteracts the rise of Vyapti Jnana cannot ultimately result in giving rise to Anumiti or inferential cognition. So, it's not the case that it counteracts the rise of Vyapti Jnana alone. When you look into the 5 types of Hetus, there are some Hetus which counteract the part of the Vyapti Jnana or Pakshadharmata Jnana or a part of Paramarsha. So, one has to go into the details to find out what kind of Pratibandhaka takes place there. So, ultimately, there does not arise the inferential cognition. So, such types of defects have been classified as 5 in number broadly, that is Savyabhichara, Viruddha, Satpratipaksha, Asiddha, Baditaha, Pancha Hetva. So, these 5 Hetva they appear to be Hetus, they have the semblance of Hetus, but Hetuvad Abhasantaiti Hetva. They appear to be Hetus, but in reality they cannot give rise to valid inferential cognition. So, he says, Sarveshamapi Hetva Bhasanam Yata Katanchit Vyapti Pratibandhakatvat. All the Hetva Bhasas, somehow or the other, they counteract the rise of Vyapti. So, Vyapti Rahitaha Hetva Bhasaha. So, what is the conclusion? Hetva Bhasa is one which cannot give rise to Vyapti Jnana. So, Vyapti Rahitaha, they lack correspondence with the Sadhya. So, Vyapti Rahitaha Hetva Bhasaha Ityartaha. So, then the commentator is because till the earlier shloka only, if you look into the text, till the 20th shloka, the commentary is by Ramananda Bhikshu. The shlokas are by Achyuta Krishnananda Tirtha, and till the verse 20, Ramananda Bhikshu has commented on it. And later on, the editor V. Krishnamacharya, no, there was no commentary for the text. He has supplied the commentary. So, he has closely followed that, without deviating from his style also. Whatever is expected of the shloka, that alone he has not gone, prasakta anuprasakta, whatever comes to his mind, he has not written. He doesn't want to be very elaborate or detailed. So, closely following the earlier commentator, he has commented. See, it is Ramanandya Vyakya Atraiva Vichinna. Ramananda Bhikshu's Vyakyana, there is no Vyakyana beyond this shloka. Itah param sampadakiyaha Vyakya samyojyate. So, from now onwards, that is from verse number 21 onwards, it is V. Krishnamacharya who is the editor of this commentary. No, he has commented on the text. So, he says, Hetvabhasa Bedascha Anyataha Avagantavya. I don't propose to go into the details of the Hetvabhasa. It has to be read from a Nyaya text, he says. Anyataha Avagantavya, because it is a Advaita text, I don't want to make it a Nyaya text. Hetvabhasa Bedascha Anyataha Avagantavya, it has to be known. Ityatra na Grantakrita Pratipaditaha. So, I have not explained them in detail. And then, Anumana Nirupanam Upasamharan Upamanam Arabate. Having completed the explanation of Anumana Nirupanam Upasamharan, completed that, Upamanam Arabate. Now, we go into the explanation of Upamana Pramana. Anumanam Idam Proktam Upamanam Atha Uchyate. Next in order comes Upamana Pramana. Sadrishya Darshanat Jatam Jnanam Sa Upamitir Bhavet. So, we have been reading from the morning. Professor R.V. was referring to Upamana Pramana of the Nayayikas and also the Advaitins. I just want to add one more point to whatever Professor R.B. has stated, which is worth mentioning here also. That is the difference between the Advaitins and the Nayayikas in the acceptance of Upamana Pramana. For the Advaitins, Upamana Pramana, strictly speaking, it is only the Shabda Pramana or the Agama Pramana that is accorded the prime status of a Pramana for the Advaitins, because they purely rely only on Agama Pramana. The other Pramanas are in one way or the other conducive in giving rise to the knowledge of Brahman. They serve as supports or the aids in understanding the scriptural text or whatever it may be. So, the other Pramanas have only the subsidiary, they should be considered only as subsidiary and not the primary status of a pramana. So what is the need for Upamana Pramana for the Advaitins? The Upamana Pramana, the Advaitins have to establish that there is no similar entity like Brahman, because Brahman is the only entity. You cannot speak of any similarity of Brahman with any other object. So in order to prove that Brahman is like nothing and unlike everything, there are many objects of the world, but you cannot speak of any similarity. That is what we have stated: Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Beda Rahitaha. The pure consciousness, it does not admit of internal differences, it does not admit of differences from other objects, similar objects and also dissimilar objects. So in order to explain this concept or this aspect or this point, that the Advaitins speak of Upamana Pramana, otherwise Upamana Pramana does not have much bearing upon the understanding of Brahma. It is just to give rise to this knowledge of that knowledge of similarity serves as a role to understand that Brahman is like nothing and unlike everything. So they give this, they explain this Upamana Pramana. But such is not the case with the Nyaya school. For the Nayayikas, that is why you see the story Professor R.B. was telling, a person who does not know what a Gavaya is, wild animal. It is a wild cow. Now he is being instructed that it is a Gavaya is similar to cow. Go sadrishaha Gavayaha. Gavaya is similar to cow. Now from this, what the Advaitins say, when he goes to the forest and he happens to see the animal Gavaya, then he concludes there is a cow in his house which he has seen earlier. Now he is able to distinguish the object or the animal in front of him. He is able to know that it is not a cow because he has seen cow earlier. But it possesses some kind of similarity with that of cow. So he comes to the conclusion, my cow is similar to Gavaya. Now if you closely analyze this, there is nothing that is known. You see, when you speak of something, this is similar to this, that is similar to this. This kind of knowledge, nothing new is known as far as the Upamiti is concerned. So I don't see any point in arriving at such a conclusion, that is Upamiti. But take the case of the Nayayikas, Nyaya school. For them, Upamana Pramana is very, very important. It acquires a special status of a Pramana, because next to Pratyaksha, Anumana is important, and immediately after that he gives Upamana, then only he goes to Shabda even. Why? There is a kind of Upajivya Upajivaka Bhava, sustained and sustaining relationship between Upamana Pramana and Shabda Pramana. Why? If you analyze the Shabda Pramana of the Nayayikas, there are two Upajivya Upajivaka Bhava. See, there are two kinds of Shabda, he says, that is sacred text and the secular statements. Now the secular statements, there are so many statements. How do you arrive at the knowledge of secular statements? You have to know what those texts mean. Now when he defines Shabda, he says Apta Vakyam Shabdaha. A sentence which is uttered by trustworthy person is a Shabda Pramana. And then he goes on to define what is meant by a sentence. A sentence is group of words. Group of words constitute a sentence. And then what is a word? What is a pada or word? He says Shaktam Padam. Shaktam Padam means every word in this universe has got a potency to convey a particular meaning and not other meaning. If you take a particular word, say horse, means horse, the word horse, H-O-R-S-E, when it is uttered, or when it is uttered in Ashvaha in Sanskrit also, A particular word is always connotative of a particular sense. That is why universally we have been taught in our primary school that a horse means this is a horse, this is an elephant. This is what we have been taught. So whenever the word is uttered in any particular language, the way in which we have been taught, we are able to associate that word with that particular sense whenever it is uttered. We don't go and ask, madam, you have been uttering about cow, what does a cow mean? Nobody asks such a question, because you have already known what a cow means. As and when I utter the sentences in a class, immediately you are able to relate it to that particular meaning, and you keep on following me, isn't it? If one cannot follow, then there is no question of transaction. Laukika Vyavahara itself is impossible. So that means every word has got the potency to convey a particular meaning, and such a meaning is known. How is it known? So Shaktam Padam means every word, the word pot, for example, the word Gataha, when it is uttered, immediately you are able to associate it with the sense pot, and you recollect the object pot. So this is a kind of relation between a word and its meaning. So when the word is uttered, what is recollected is the word meaning. So Artha Smriti, there arises the word meaning. So how do the Nayayikas define Shakti? Artha Smriti Anukula Pada Padartha Sambandha. There is a relation between the word and its meaning, and when the word is uttered, what happens is, when that is, there are two factors which are ever related, and when one is known, immediately the other is being recollected. So when the word Gataha is uttered, its sense, that is pot, is immediately recollected. So as and when the words are uttered, you are able to recollect the meaning. So that means every word is associated with a Shakti, or every word has got the potency to convey a meaning. And now, who has fixed this meaning? Who has conveyed that the pot should convey this object or this sense alone, and not when a pot is at, suppose I say Gatam Anaya, please bring the pot. Somebody brings a pen. Don't you understand what I say? Why are you not bringing pot? Why have you brought a pen? Madam, I don't know what a pot is. I thought this is a pot. Nobody says that. So a word is always related to a particular sense. Now who has fixed this relation between a word and its meaning? That is, the Nayayikas say, it is Ishvara Icha. It is the desire of Ishvara, that a word should convey, this word should convey this particular meaning alone. Iti Ishvara Icha, Ishvara Sanketaha Shakti. Okay, Ishvara has Icha. Now how am I to know that? Ishvara, it is the Ishvara's desire, isn't it? How am I to know that Ishvara has such a desire? How am I to understand that the word Gataha conveys the sense of pot? So the Nayayikas have have given a list as to how to comprehend the Shabda Shakti, how to comprehend the potency that is present in a word. He gives a list: Vyakarana, Upamana, Kosha, Aptavakyat, Vyavaharatascha. Vyakarana, there is a long list he gives. It is a shloka. You can write Vyakarana, Upamana, Kosha, Aptavakyad, Vyavaharatascha. The second line is Vakyasya Sheshad Vivruter Vadanti Sannidhyataha Siddha Padascha Vriddhaha. These are the several means of comprehending the Shabda Shakti. Siddhapadascha Vriddhaha. Now the first one is Vyakarana. How do you Vyakarana, Kosha, Vyakarana, Upamana, Kosha, Aptavakyat, Vyavaharatascha, Vakyasya Sheshat, Vivriter Vadanti, Sannidhyataha, Siddhapadascha Vriddhaha. So these are the several means. The second, Vyakarana means Prakriti, Dhatu, Prakriti, Pratyaya. What do they convey? How do you understand? Dudany, that is Bhu Sattayam. So this is the, from Dhatu, Prakriti and Pratyaya, what do they convey? That you can know from Vyakarana. So Prakriti, Dhatu, Prakriti, Pratyaya, what meaning do they convey? That you can know from Vyakarana. Next comes Upamana. We'll come to this Upamana later. From Kosha you come to know what the word, there are Nanarthaka Shabdas. So from Kosha means lexicon. From lexicon you come to know what the words mean. Then Aptavakya, you do not know what is meant by something, and somebody who is a trustworthy person, when you say no, it must be correct. So that is Aptavakya. From Aptavakya you come to comprehend the Shabda Shakti. And then Vyavahara means Vriddha Vyavahara. You have to correlate this. Vriddha Vyavahara means how does a child learn language? The Mimamsakas devote much time for this. They say a child is sitting and noticing the Vriddha Vyavahara. The old man says, go and tie the cow. Then he takes the cow. Then bring the horse. Ashwam Badana, Gam Anaya. So he has been. Then Avapa Udvapabhyam. When he says Gam Ane, he is bringing some animal. So the child is able to relate, oh, this means the act of bringing, and this is the animal. And Ashwam Badana, Gam Badana, when he says Gam Badana, see, immediately he goes and ties the cow. So that means the word Badana conveys the sense of tying. So this is how unconsciously a child learns language, by the process of insertion and elimination. One word is inserted and one word is eliminated. This is how the child, of course, will not be able to explain how it has learnt. This is how all of us have also learnt. So that is Vriddha Vyavahara. Vriddha Vyavahara is one of the means of comprehending Shabda Shakti. Then Vakyasya Sheshat means complement of the text. Complement. In some cases what would happen is, the last portion of the text will be, with that we will be able to comprehend the whole meaning in a particular context. The complement of, see, yato vacho nivartan, I'm sorry, yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jata yataha, what does it mean? Tad vijignyasasva tad brahma, it says. So yena jatani jivanti yat prayante, nobody knows. If it is not said yataha yat prayante abhisambhishanti, if the Upanishad stops there, Tad Vijignyasasva. Then what is the complement of the text? Tad Brahma means, Yataha means it conveys the sense of Brahman, from which Brahman the world has come into. So that is the complement, Vakyasya Sheshat. And then Vivritehe. Vivriti means sometimes you give a Vivarana or Samanartaka Pada or explanation of a particular word to know the meaning of a particular word. So Vivarana, by giving a Samanartaka Vachana, you are able to understand the Shabda Shakti. Then Siddhapadasya Sannidhyat. When you are reading Hindu paper, not all the words you will be knowing, even in English, no. Sometimes what happens, it relates to something economic, some economical term is there, but you can somehow or the other fix within the ambit, no, that contextually, Siddhapadasya, you will be knowing some meaning of some word. So with that meaning, you can come to understand, oh, this is Siddhapadasya. You already know the meaning of a particular word, and in that context, this should mean only the Siddhapadasya Sannidhyas. You are able to fix the meaning of the other word. So these are the several means of comprehending Shabda Shakti, or the potency that is present in a word. Now, we are bothered about the second one, that is, of these several means, Upamana is one of the means accepted by the Nayayikas. So, Upamana Pramana is very, very important for the Nayayikas, because it is one of the Shabda Shakti Upaya. It is the means of comprehending Shabda Shakti. Now, let us come to the old story of Gau and Kavaya. Now, what happens for Nayayika? Nayayika also does not know what a Gavaya means. So, he is being instructed by a forester. Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha. This is knowledge of similarity. Now, before going to this, what is meant by Upamana actually for the Nayayikas? It is Samnya, Samni, Sambandha Jnanam Upamiti. Samnya, Samni, Sambandha Jnanam Upamitihi. Samjna means a pada, that is a word. Samjni means artha. Now, what do you arrive at in Upamiti? You arrive at the significative relation of a word to its meaning. That is what is arrived at in Upamiti. And what is the cause of such Upamiti? It is the knowledge of similarity. So, what is the knowledge? Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha. You have the knowledge that a Gavaya is an animal which is similar to a cow. So, you do not know what a Gavaya means. Now, somebody instructs Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha. You have been already instructed by a forester and you recollect this word Atidesha Vakyartha Smriti. You have been earlier instructed by the forester that a Gavaya is similar to a cow. And when you see actually the Gavaya in the forest, when you happen to go to the forest, there is the Atidesha Vakyartha Smriti. You recollect this knowledge of similarity. You recollect this statement made by the Atidesha or the forester. Now, what happens is, Gavaya is in front of you, isn't it? So long you did not see Gavaya, whenever the word Gavaya was uttered, you were not able to relate it to any sense whatever, because you don't know what a Gavaya is. So whenever the teacher taught you a Gavaya means Gavaya Shringa, then he was not able to understand what a Gavaya is. Now that he has been instructed that it is an animal similar to a cow, and he also sees the animal Gavaya in front of him, so he is able to distinguish it from a cow. He knows that it is not a cow. The animal in front of him is a Gavaya, he has understood. Now, what is the form of Upamiti he arrives at is, oh, all these days I was not knowing what a Gavaya is. These kind of animals are called Gavaya. Now he has come to the conclusion, Gavayaha Gavayapada Vachyaha. Such animals which are like the one in front of me, that is called as Gavayaha Gavayapada Vachyaha. This is the form of Upamiti which the Nayayikas arrive at. It is not like the Advaitins, my animal cow is similar to this Gavaya and this our Gavaya is similar to the, it is not the case. For the Nayayikas, you are, by means of Upamana Pramana, you are able to comprehend Shabda Shakti. So long you did not know what a Gavaya meant. Now, hereafter, whenever you see a Gavaya, that is why the Nayayikas are very specific in saying, in some texts it is given as, the animal in front of me is Gavaya. Even that is not accepted to be Upamiti, because whenever the word Gavaya is uttered, you will recollect or you will remember only that Gavaya. But a child, when you take the child to a zoo and show an elephant, wherever the child sees an elephant, whether it is in a calendar or in a picture or in a wooden toy, anywhere the child is able to identify it as an elephant, because the child has associated the word elephant with such and such a configuration. This kind of animal is elephant. It is not the case, oh, you took me to that zoo, that alone is elephant. This I will not accept as elephant. Nobody says so. So such a kind of significative relation of a word to its sense is arrived at only by means of knowledge of similarity. So gavayaha gavaya padavachyaha, it is not asau gavaya padavachyaha. The animal in front of me is gavaya. This is not upamiti even. The Nayayikas go to the extent of saying that the term gavaya is significative of animals such as the one in front of me. Now, from now onwards, whenever you see an animal gavaya or whenever the word gavaya is uttered, you will be able to recollect or associate it to the word, to its sense, namely the animal gavaya. So, such is the importance of the Upamana Pramana for the Nayayikas. It is one of the means of comprehending Shabda Shakti. Now, you can give any number of examples, but the usually given example is gavaya. Now, for example, a child asks, what is a pen? A child has been writing only with a pencil, and you instruct the child, oh, a pen is more or less like a pencil. You are writing with a pencil, but the pen will have a different type of nib, and there will be ink in it. So when the child sees a pen, the child is able to distinguish it from a pencil. So the child knows that it is not a pencil. Now it will understand that, oh, a pen means the ones which is with me. So such objects alone convey the sense of pen. So like this you can multiply instances. Now the point that is of importance here is, for the Nayayikas, Upamana is one of the means of comprehending Shabda Shakti. So it is a very, very important pramana, Upamanat Shakti Grahaha. So that is why Upamana has been explained first and then Shabda Pramana, because Shabda Shakti itself is known only from Upamana, one of the means. That is why Upamana has been placed prior to Shabda Pramana. There is a kind of Upajivya Upajivak Bhava, because one of the means of comprehending Shabda Shakti is Upamana, we have said. So after describing Shabda, Upamana cannot be described. Upamana cannot be explained. That is why Upamana comes third in the list of Pramanas for the Nayayikas. Then only comes Shabda, because even to understand Shabda Shakti, Upamana is one such means. So there is a kind of Upajivya Upajivaka Bhava. There is a kind of sustaining factor. The sustaining factor of Shabda itself is Upamana Pramana. So Upamana has been given the third place in the list of Pramanas. So this is the importance of Upamana Pramana for the Nayayikas. So he says, Upamanam tu Sadrishya Jnanam Tat Karanam Matam. Upamana is nothing but knowledge of similarity. Sadrishya Jnanam Tat Karanam Matam. Go Sadrishya Diya. Yat, the previous verse. Anumanam idam sadrishya darshanat jatam jnanam sa upamitir bhavet. Anumanam iti sadrishyeti. Go sadrishya darshanat yat gavaya jnanam sa upamitihi ityartaha. Nacha asyaha anumitau antarbhavaha. For the Advaitins, see, the Nayayikas, anybody for that matter would ask the Advaitin, for this, do you require a pramana at all? You can include it. The Nayayikas would say, I will make it in the form of a syllogism. For me, of course, the role of Upamana Pramana is something different from what you say. But what appears to me is, for the Advaitins, there is no need for a Upamana Pramana at all. They could include it under Anumana Pramana itself. They give a syllogism. So, Nacha Asyaha, but the Advaitins are very firm in this. Nacha Asyaha Anumitau Antarbhavaha. I cannot admit Upamana Pramana, or I cannot subsume it under Anumana Pramana. Vyapti Jnanadi Vilambam. See, this is one normal answer which any philosopher would give. He says, Vyapti Jnanadi Vilambam Antarapi Tadutpatter Darshanat. Even without the rise of Vyapti Jnana, Vilambam, it does not expect Vyapti Jnana. Even without that, prior to that even, from the knowledge of similarity, there arises some Upamiti. So, Vyapti Jnanadi Vilambam Antarapi Tadutpattehi means Upamityutpatter Darshanat. Upamiti or Upamana has to be given a special status of a Pramana. This is the Advaitin's view. Then Upamanam tu Upamiti Karanamityah. Upamanam tu Sadrishya Jnanam Tat Karanam Matam. Go Sadrishya Diya. Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha. Go Sadrishya Diya means Go Sadrishya Jnanam. Yat Gavayadi Vinishchayaha. From this you come to know that Gavaya is similar to my cow is similar to Gavaya. This is upamiti for the Advaitins. Sadrishya Jnanam. Gavaye go sadrishya. See, the Nayayika say go sadrishaha Gavaya. If the Advaitins say Gavaya sadrishaha go. Gavayaha Madi Anena Sadrishi Madiya Gauhu. This is the upamiti for the Advaitins. Anena Sadrishi Madiya Gauhu. You see, the Nayayikas question the Advaitins. Whenever you speak of sadrishya between two objects, X and Y, Mukha and Chandra. When you say Chandra Sadrisham Mukham, means there is Mukhe Chandra Sadrishyam Vartate. There is similarity of Chandra in Mukha. And whenever you speak of Sadrishya, where Sadrishya is present, that is the Anuyogi for the Sadrishya. That is called Anuyogi. Whose Sadrishya is present, that is called Pratiyogi. So, Chandra Pratiyogika Sadrishyam Mukhe Vartate. Chandra Sadrishaha Mukham means it is Chandra Pratiyogika Sadrishyam Mukhe Vartate. Now, when you speak of Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha, in this case, there should be one Anuyogi and one Pratiyogi. Now, it is exactly this is going to be ulta in the upamiti. Gavaya, Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha means Goho Sadrishyam Gavaye Vartate, and Anena Sadrishi Madiya Gauhu means the reverse will be the case in the case of upamiti. So, what is it that you have arrived at? See, Chandra Sadrisham Mukham, when you say, the opposite of it, you give it as upamiti means there is nothing new that is known in upamiti. That is what the Nayayikas say. For Sadrishya, there must be one Anuyogi and one Pratiyogi. And one something is given as the Upamana or the Karana, and the reverse or the opposite of it is given as the Upamiti. So, what serves the Anuyogi in the Upamana will be the Pratiyogi in the Upamiti. So, it doesn't matter much, and nothing new is known in Upamiti at all. So, the Nayayikas somewhat are allergic to this kind of explanation by the Advaitins. So you see, they don't want to accept something blindly just for the sake of it. For the Advaitins, all these are very empirical matters, no. So whatever if it is not okay, no, then okay. For us, Brahman, nothing should harm Brahman. That is what we want. So they don't bother about the criticism of the Nayayikas. If you don't accept, no, then we are not any the worse of it. No, it's okay. So he goes on to say that Upamiti is a pramana. But the one reason he gives is, see, if I have the Anuvyavasa, if I have the Sakshi Pratiti, Upaminomi, if I have such a cognition, then I have to account for it. So I will accept Upamiti, Upamana as a pramana. The Advaitins emphatically say, see, somebody gets the cognition, Upaminomi iti Anuvyavasaya, Upaminomi iti Sakshi Pratiti. Somebody has, even if one person has such a cognition, I am able to compare and I have the analogy between these two, then we have to account for such a usage. So, Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha, Anena Sadrishiya Madiya Gauhu, it holds good for us as long as such a cognition arises. That's what he says. Upami Gavaye Go Sadrishya Jnanam Tat Karanam Upamiti Karanam Tadeva Nidarshana Mukhena Aha Go Sadrish Nidarshana Mukhen, he gives a example. Go Sadrishaha Gavayaha, that is Upamana Pramana, and Anena Sadrishi Madiya Gauhu. Anena Sadrishi Madiya Gauhu means my cow is similar to this animal Gavaya which is in front of me. This is Upamiti, he says. And then Shabda Pramanam Nirupayitum Upakramate, that we will see in the next class tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om शांति शांति शांतिः। हरिः ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।